Oh, hey guys, there you are. So, as we get into the off season, or the 3D season, as some of you call it, because everybody likes to go 3D shooting, practice shooting during the off season of hunting, we're going to get into some of the fundamentals of archery, and as far as your grip, your anchor points, all that kind of stuff. We're going to do a little series. So today's episode is just going to be for the grip and anchor, and then later on we'll get into some of the other stuff, more advanced stuff. I got a buddy of mine coming today. He's never shot a bow, so we're going to teach him how to shoot a bow. And yeah, that's it. Let's get into it. Hey guys, how y'all doing today? Hopefully you can hear me out here. A little bit of wind, so we'll do what we can. Hopefully you can hear me. So you see the empty chair? I do have a buddy of mine coming. It's actually one of my best buddies. It's my son, Landon. So y'all say hey to him. Come on in, buddy.
Hi, y'all.
Alright, so today what we're going to be going over is grip and anchors on the bow and how to shoot it and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of these bows you can see have different style of grips, and we're going to be going over where to place it in the hands when you're holding the bow, and then also with the anchors, where to hold it on your face depending on what type of release you have. We'll go over a little bit of that. We have the thumb release, or we also have what's called either a wrist strap, or you can call it the index style. A couple different options that we can go over, and we got different arrows on the table. We got some stabilizers and some different quivers, stuff like that will all change how the bow feels in your hand, but the main part of your grip and your anchor should always stay the same. So Landon's going to go over here, and we're going to get shooting a little bit, and we're going to go over a few things. Alright guys, so we're down here at the front yard, little range, and we're going to look at Landon's anchor here. Let's take a look. Alright, his hand's a little off, so we're going to talk about that. And judging by his grip here, we're going to talk about that as well, and where it's sitting in relation to his palm. So we're going to go back over here to the drawing table, and we're going to actually go over a few things with that as far as what we see with his draw. Alright guys, so as you can see there, Landon, he's got a pretty good form. We got some things we need to work on. Come on in, buddy. We got some things we need to work on with him. I'm not sure if y'all could see, he had his hand closed all the way around that grip. And let me just take some chalk here and show y'all. You see in the middle of your hand where your thumb crosses over this line right here, that's your lifeline. And if I actually make a mark on this with a piece of chalk, just like that right there, I hope y'all can see that. That basically, you want to keep your chalk line away from the bow. You want the bow grip. It's called a grip because that's where you're going to, of course, hold the bow, but you're not actually gripping the bow. Instead of Landon being completely closed like that, what I would have liked to have seen was him having his hand open and the bow pressing against this part of his thumb right here outside of that chalk line. Let me see if I can demonstrate this here and show you. So when I'm grabbing a bow, if you're looking at it dead straight in, I'm going to take my hand and I'm going to put it, I want my thumb to be at 2 o'clock, which will make my elbow be at 8 o'clock if you're looking directly at a clock face. So if I would take my hand, go right here, you can see that chalk line is not on that bow. Anytime I grip the bow like this and come off of it, you're going to see a little chalk mark on that bow. You see that one? Mm-hmm. Yeah? that is indicating that you are going to have an impact on this bow. If you're grabbing like this, you can turn or torque the bow left or right when you're pulling and when you're letting go. If you have your hand outside that chalk line and just resting on that top part, as you pull and draw back, none of that chalk line is going to be on it. You're not going to influence the bow at all. So that's the first thing that we need to work on. The second thing will be his grip or his anchor. If you saw, he was using a thumb release. I have already kind of worked with him a little as far as upgrading from a wrist style or index style release to getting a better grouping with his thumb release. That's mine, actually. This one here, his thumb release. So his anchor on that one, if you saw, he had his fist completely balled up, not relaxed, and he was kind of in a whole bunch of tension throughout his whole body. And he had his knuckles and everything away from his jaw line. We definitely don't want to do that, because that's going to influence a left or right torque on the string, which will also influence the arrow coming out left or right as far as how it flies. So my daughter's trying to get in the film. I need her to back up a minute. Sorry about that. So what we're going to do is actually coach him now on the proper anchor points and the proper grip, and see how much, one, how much better of a shot it is, and two, how much more comfortable it is for him to shoot. So let's get to that. All right, guys, we're back out here again. We're gonna go over Landon's grip and his anchor. See, his grip here is a little, like I said, a little strong. It's not quite on that lifeline like I'd like to see. Go ahead and let your bow down. All right, let me hold your bow here. I'll hold it up. All right, so I want you to remember your lifeline. Remember the lifeline on your hand. Look at where your lifeline is on your hand. There you go. Look at where your lifeline is. All right, so the bow, remember guys, needs to be on the inside right here. This is the only place you should feel pressure, not up here in your hand. This is where you should feel the bow. So again, put your hand at 2 o'clock, your elbow at 8. Okay, we're at 2 o'clock, elbows down at 8. I'm gonna place your bow right here in your hand, and that is all you need to do. Relax your fingers, guys. Everybody that keeps grabbing their fingers around the bow, that's why you're gonna end up getting the left and right of the bow, is by wrapping your fingers around that grip. Relax your fingers, just hold your bow just like that. All right, let's get him to go ahead and draw back. And then I want him to actually feel and concentrate on that pressure in the middle of his hand. In the middle of the part of his thumb is where he needs to feel that pressure. Right there. That looks good. All right, so now we're gonna look at his anchor here. All right, so for a thumb release, go ahead and let down. I'm gonna have Landon take the video here, and I'm gonna have him kind of pointed at me. I want to show y'all what we need to be doing with our thumb releases if that's what you're going to be using. So what we're going to be doing with a thumb release is we don't want to grab this thumb release all the way back here in the back part of our hands. I know that may feel comfortable, but that's not what we want to do, because that's, again, if you look at this, as I rotate my hand over, this is actually rotating this way, okay? I'm too far into my grip. What I need to do is move this to the front side, and my hand needs to be flat. Instead of curled over like this, my hand needs to be flat, okay? So what I'm going to do, Landon, had his hand curled over and he was gripping too deep in. So that's why when he came up to his face, you see this is pointing at you guys. I'm trying to shoot something that's that way. And my thumb release is facing you. So I'm going to move to the first set of knuckles, right there. It's that second little 1 line, 2 line. I want it in between there. Okay, just like that there. So what I'm going to do is move that there, so my hand, instead of being like this, my hand will be flat, and I can get this V right here on my jawline, right on that tip of that jawbone. So that's here. That way this is actually pointing straight out, and it gives me more mobility of my thumb to actually get around the barrel and execute the shot, instead of, like I said earlier, being out here and trying to, this way I can't really reach that barrel too well, so I'm actually having to punch just to be able to reach it, so it's not really working too well. So that's what we want to work on. We want to work on getting our hands flat and having that V of those 2 fingers, that separation of that knuckle right on the jawbone right here. That way everything's straight. I can get this barrel fully wrapped around and create a wall on the back side of that barrel. And what the wall is doing is, if you see the barrel here, if I'm overextended, or if this barrel is not adjusted to the right place, this barrel is actually adjusted for me already, but if the barrel is not adjusted to the right place, I'm just touching the barrel, and that makes me actually have to make a movement with my hand, which any movement you make is going to influence the string of the bow, and that influence, again, like I talked about, will make your arrow influence some way instead of being straight and accurate and true. So what you want to do is you want to create a wall around that barrel. I even touch mine. I touch the other side of my release when I have it in my hand. And what I do, with a flat hand and with this all the way around, what that does is it seats that barrel in my hand. And then at that point, I just use my back tension and pull. And as I pull, you can see, as I pull away, that barrel's moving as I'm pulling my whole hand away. So I'm not having to make any manipulative moves at all on this barrel. So that's the stuff we're going to be going over. We're going to be working on that. We'll take some different shots, and I'll actually show you another release as well, the index style or wrist strap, and you can actually do the same back tension style with the index release instead of having to punch the release. I'll go ahead and show you that one here in a little bit. Hey guys, so what we're talking about now is, I went over a little bit with y'all with the thumb releases. We're talking about the wrist strap or index style releases now. So as you can look here, this one actually is a 2 caliper release, and it does have the trigger. So when it's closed, nothing is going to happen. I typically always put my hand behind it, behind the trigger. That way when I'm drawing the bow, there's no way that I'm going to be able to release this. So what you want to do on these to create that back tension or surprise shot that you want is, instead of punching the trigger, when you have it back, you rest your finger on it. You can either close your hand or leave your fingers relaxed. I always leave my fingers relaxed. That way I'm not, again, putting any influence on this back rod right here at all and creating any type of torque at all on this device. So I always have my finger just relaxed over it. All my other 3 fingers relaxed behind it. And what I'm doing with these is I am pulling my hand with my back muscles. I'm pulling my hand out of the release, and it's setting the trigger off, instead of coming in here and punching this. That's, again, that punch, just like if you're punching a gun, if you punch the trigger, what's going to happen is you're either going to move one way or the other with your shot. Same thing with a trigger release on a bow. You're either going to move or jerk or anticipate the shot. You want a surprise release on any handheld device or handheld release that you use, whether it's a thumb button, index style, back tension, or hinge. Any of the devices you use at all, you want a surprise shot. So you don't want to feel like you're in command or in control of that shot at all. You want to be in control of yourself and your execution. But again, you don't want to influence any device that you have. All right, so now I'm gonna actually get him to put a wall around that barrel like I was talking about with his thumb. Go ahead, son. And we're gonna look at his release and actually get him to pull through using his back muscles. There we go. Y'all see how his hand went further back? That's actually a better executed shot. That's actually a lot better shot down there. I'm sure y'all can't see that with the sun glaring and everything, but it's pretty much dead nuts on right where he was aiming. So how does it feel using a back tension release style versus trying to punch the trigger and anticipate the shot?
It feels great, better, honestly, because when you're doing it, it does not hurt your arm as much as it does.
Okay, what about your grip, since you're working on your grip position on the bow? How does the holding the bow itself feel?
It feels much better because it is not really tightening and it's not hurting your finger muscles, twigs in it as much as you can.
Okay, all right. All right, so we'll get back to the drawing board. We'll go over a few more things, and we'll catch y'all back here in a little bit. All right, so we showed you landing a little bit. I'm gonna show you a little bit of my routine and what I do, how I grip the bow, how I hold my anchors, and hopefully it'll give you a little bit better understanding. I know sometimes looking at a child and you're an adult watching this, it may be a little non-informative, but sometimes maybe it is, who knows, but I'll give you a different perspective on me. So I always grab the bow. Basically, I already set my 2 o'clock position before I even draw the bow. I'll hold my hand exactly where I want it to hold, and then I'll come in and I'll start my draw process. I'll come back with it. I'll go ahead and set my anchor before I even bring down the sight of the bow. But if you come around, and if you notice I'm moving my anchor, it moves the arrow and it moves the string, so that's automatically going to influence the shot. That's why I was talking, it's so important to get your anchor in flat position and get that thing wrapped, your wall wrapped around the barrel, and then you just want to continuously just pull until you get a surprise shot, and you're not influencing anything at all. You're not manipulating anything with the arrow, anything with the string. The bow is going to hit exactly where it's aimed. 90% of the time when you have a miss, left, right, high, low, 1, it could be your sight. 2, the main reason is you. It's the influence that you have on the grip, whether you're torquing the bow or whether you're torquing your release. That is the main part of your accuracy. Number 1 thing in accuracy is repeatability. I don't care how weird you draw the bow or any weird forms or anything like that. Once you get set and you have a good, steady, smooth, loose grip on the bow, and a controlled one though, obviously, not too loose where you're going to drop it, and then a controlled, flat, good set anchor that's not going to be influenced by any other muscle movement at all. And once you execute the surprise shot, you don't know when that bow is going to go off. You're just continuing your same process, and no matter what, the more you repeat it, that's how more accurate you're going to be. It's not about, you know, oh, I need a $300 release, or I need a $500 sight, or I need 80 pounds. You know, it doesn't matter. It's about your repeatability with your shot process and your concentration on pulling through in the different muscle groups that you're using in your back, not influencing it up here with your hands. So that's the stuff that we've been going over on this chapter. I'll grab another arrow and I'll show you one more time, and then I think after that we're going to be going into some other advanced stuff as far as the accessories on the bow, what they do, stabilizers, the sidebar or rear stabilizers, and exactly your risers, your limb setup, your cams, you know, all of that stuff as well. So those are all in later videos, arrow spines, all that kind of stuff. So this is going to be a huge thing that hopefully blows up, and I get to actually, you know, start teaching some people. So that's what I'm looking for to get out of this, is, you know, honestly just becoming a coach, an archery instructor. I am going to start going to classes to where I get my instructor license, so that should make some people feel better. But been doing a lot of research and come to find out that some people, I'm not going to name names, are charging a lot for something that is very simple. It shouldn't be taken advantage of, if you could say that. So we'll get back